Make sure you guys smash that subscribe button if you guys are fans of the content being posted onto this channel to always be in the loop with more content similar to this, and be sure to hit the video up with a like if you're enjoying the content. And with that being said, let's begin. So by now, Godzilla vs. Kong is without question one of the most anticipated monster movies in recent memory. This is without question going to set the precedent for monster movies going forward. However, a lot of people within the kaiju fandom seem to be asking the question on whether or not Legendary is going to somehow either continue by making more monster movies after this is over and done with, and what exactly is going to be the fate of Godzilla going forward once, of course, the rights of Godzilla end up going back to Toho Films. Now, first things first, I do want to set the precedent to say that eventually down the line, Legendary should without question go on to follow suit in ending off the MonsterVerse by having one final movie within the MonsterVerse, and that being none other than Toho's 1995 movie of Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. And I think that Legendary should adapt a similar concept to this, kind of creating the Avengers Infinity War / Endgame of the Godzilla universe by giving us a two-parter monster movie which basically goes on to close off the MonsterVerse forever. And I think that when establishing that narrative, the overall precedent can be set with Destoroyah going around and literally obliterating not just Godzilla, but all of the other kaiju that either reside in different continents, all of the other kaiju that perhaps are maybe coming from the Hollow Earth, or maybe even having Destoroyah go down within the depths of the Hollow Earth and destroy any remnants of kaiju that are down there. So I think that the overall narrative should be for there to be massive amounts of buildup that basically encompass the events of what happened during King of the Monsters, with the Oxygen Destroyer being used in mutating one of the crustaceans in the ocean that ended up in resulting in Destoroyah basically going around and destroying the Earth along with its kaiju. So I find it more than interesting to go back to 1995's version of Godzilla vs. Destoroyah and seeing how Destoroyah was able to just ramsack Godzilla until the very end, where Destoroyah was defeated and Godzilla was killed. You don't necessarily have to do that in this movie, but we're going to be touching bases on that for a later video. But the main question here is, where do we go after Godzilla vs. Kong? Well, here are the established facts, right? Fact number one is that Toho is looking to establish a brand new Godzilla cinematic universe, similar to how they've done for decades, except this time they want to do things a little different, right? So that's good. However, when it comes down to Legendary and for them to use Godzilla, I think that going forward after Godzilla vs. Kong, you have to establish the overall premise that obviously more alphas do in fact exist outside of Godzilla, that being Kong is one of them. So I think that they need to finally place the label of King within Kong's name and finally giving us a definitive title of King Kong, and then following suit by giving us a second Kong movie. Now, why is a second Kong movie important? Well, we understand now that Kong is going to be traveling into the depths of the Hollow Earth, and he's going to be battling several different monsters down there to get the axe and the shield needed to battle against Godzilla on the mainlands. However, I think that by establishing another premise, by giving us more in-depth details on Skull Island and more or less giving us a more detailed narrative and seeing how Kong operates in the Hollow Earth, do I feel like that would be one of the strong suits for the MonsterVerse to continue, only because you can have other kaiju that arise from the Hollow Earth itself that could challenge Kong's stature in being the alpha titan that he is wherever he may be. So I think that if you want to establish a brand new Kong movie to where Godzilla is outside of the picture, because we now know, spoiler alert, that in Godzilla vs. Kong, neither one of these monsters are going to die definitively, right? Which is good to appease both fandoms, because Godzilla is going to go his separate way, Kong is going to go his, and we know that MechaGodzilla is going to be introduced only to get destroyed by both kaiju. So with Kong 2, or King Kong, or Kong Skull Island 2, you can introduce the narrative of Kong's island or his domain being threatened by outside kaiju that don't follow the natural order. Now, we know that Ghidorah is one of those creatures that was sent to Earth, and he is not a part of the natural order of the Earth itself. So you can ultimately introduce the narrative of having similar alien organisms be introduced, to where the concept idea of alien organisms are not outside the realm of possibility for them to exist. So by having that narrative be introduced, you can either have Kong battle the natural order of enemies on the planet, or you can introduce a different kind of biological organism to battle Kong in terms of fighting for the position of who's going to be the dominant creature for said domain. Which you kind of have to ask yourself, where do we go from here in terms of having Kong be an element in the story, because you don't really have to introduce the concept of Kong becoming an ally or a foe for Godzilla going forward, but if you were to introduce this overall idea of having Destoroyah be introduced at the very end of being the final movie within the MonsterVerse, then it would only make sense to see said kaiju rise up just to take down this one crustacean that had manifested in becoming one of the most dangerous entities on the planet itself. So it would be really cool to see several different kaiju come together in their attempts of taking said creature down, only to have Destoroyah at the very end kind of establish himself as being an outside force of nature that cannot be dealt with one-on-one, or at least not easily. So I think that before you start building up to a movie like that, you're going to have to establish the other kaiju in your MonsterVerse for them to have relevancy before going into such films. As an example, you could do something with having the larva stages of Mothra finally hatch, and for us to get a brand new Mothra. As another example is to include a movie to where we get to see it, instead of having Godzilla be a factor, we have Kong, Rodan, and several other monsters that are all a part of the same ecosystem. So I think that you can't just drop the ball and just disregard several monsters and several kaiju only because they're either slumbering or they're hibernating or they're doing their own thing. I think that if you want to build towards having this one or two be-all end-all movies for the MonsterVerse, because you have to really stop and consider the main reasoning behind having a be-all end-all movie or a finale to the MonsterVerse is because there is no balance currently on the Earth when it involves the kaiju and the Earthlings, only because people are building these mechanized monsters to battle against Godzilla and Kong, i.e. MechaGodzilla. The monsters are sort of doing their own thing. We have rebellious kaiju such as Kong not willing to obey or at least bow down to the natural order of the alpha predator on the surface, that being Godzilla. So there is lots of conflict going on that towards the end of all of this, you can finally have quote-unquote balance in the universe to where all the kaiju are on the same page, the humans are meddling in, causing distress or doing something to aggravate them, and everything can go back to normal, right? So I think that when you build up until that point, you have to have your current monsters kind of feel relevant in a sense. For example, you've introduced the concept of kaiju such as Behemoth, kaiju such as the Leviathan, kaiju such as Methuselah, and all of these other beasts and monsters. You can't really have them be introduced only for them to do nothing, right? So I think that there should be, and I think that without question there is going to be another movie after this is over and done with, but it may not have anything to do with Godzilla, but it may have everything to do with Kong. And with that being said, until Legendary ends up reacquiring the rights for Godzilla, only then can we see another Godzilla movie. But even from there, I don't think that Destoroyah should be introduced right off the gate, but instead, if they were to throw in Easter eggs or kind of allude to this new enemy having to kind of dwell within the darkness until said time comes for it to rise, that would be a great addition, because if you were to do another Godzilla movie, there are still so many options that you can explore by either introducing new monsters for Godzilla to fight similar to Kong, or if you want to kind of re-establish the narrative of borrowing monsters from Toho, such as maybe perhaps, and I'm just gonna spitball, Gamera, Gigan, you have Anguirus, you have so many concepts, right, that you can borrow and kind of reintroduce if you don't want to run with the narrative of introducing another mecha-like titan, such as, for example, Mecha King Ghidorah or something like that. So I think that when looking at that overall narrative, we're bound to see another Godzilla movie come, but it may not happen for quite some time, only because Toho is looking to do their own thing, unless they want to split the rights in doing their own universe, but at the same time allowing Legendary to keep the rights for Godzilla, only because of the amount of revenue they're generating for said companies. But by the end of all of this, I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below involving 3 specific things. Number 1, do you think that they should run with the overall concept idea of writing down and setting up for a big finale to the MonsterVerse way down the line? Because my pick would be Destoroyah, but if you guys feel differently, then let me know in the comment section below. Number 2, do you think that we should get another definitive Kong movie and title it as King Kong, only because the title is well deserved, and I think that you could actually do something with Kong if he were to go back to Skull Island or even go back into the depths of the Hollow Earth? And lastly, what do you think is going to happen, in your opinion, following Godzilla vs. Kong? Are they going to make more movies within the MonsterVerse and giving us different kinds of movies that are going to kind of interconnect? Or, in your opinion, do you guys believe that this is legitimately it? Because I think that there's so much more money lying on the table for these companies just to call it quits now. It's popular, it's good, and it's a lot better than any of the crap that we've seen in 1998 with, you know, TriStar Pictures producing Godzilla. So I think that this is a plus on our side as fans to get quality products that I think are better than what we're used to. And I think that when going forward, of course, a lot of us would like to see more Godzilla movies, perhaps maybe if Toho were to do it, another Shin Godzilla movie, you know, including concepts such as Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. But the future is unknown, but the future does weigh and are basically in our hands going forward to keep the franchise alive. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for your time. If, of course, you guys are new to the channel, be sure to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button. Give this video a big fat thumbs up if you guys enjoyed the video by slapping that like button down below. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody, and take care. Peace.